Hey, I want to give everyone a rundown of how winterization of our irrigation system is done. I'm going to try doing that through use of one of our irrigation maps. So right here is a map of the entire property, every sprinkler head, every irrigation line, all marked, notes on each area. Really good, useful tool. It's been used and abused. Used a ton when we did the bunker renovation this spring, being able to highlight where a lot of our lines run and where sprinkler heads are at. So winterization of the system is, in a basic sense, a way for us to remove water from the system. Winter can be tough around here. We can get deep hard freezes. We don't want any water in our irrigation system when we have these hard freezes, because it can damage not only our irrigation lines or sprinkler heads. Say 1,200 sprinkler heads, that's not cheap to replace. So it's better for us to rent a compressor, a very large air compressor, blow air through the line, replace all that water with air. So I'm going to kind of show how we do that. So today's Wednesday. We started the process today with our compressor. However, on Monday, we started by just simply draining the system, opening valves, letting water naturally feed out through gravity. The course itself, it's highest on the northeast side. Pretty much the entire course drains to a main valve we have of our pump house right here on the west side, and also down by 8's T's. These are the two low areas. All that water naturally drains that way through gravity, which is awesome because we're able to get most of the water just by simply opening some valves, letting it drain out naturally. However, that's not enough because there are pockets. There's a low valley, let's say on 18 and 1, water will settle in there and won't find a way to evacuate the system. So we have to use compressed air to force it out. So what we do now here on Wednesday is we hook our compressor up to our pump station. And what we do is from the pump station, we go from one side of the course to the other, forcing air through the system, pushing the water out as we go along. So we start here, work our way over here. So today what we've done, hooked the compressor up, put a lot of these out. So this is a quick coupler. So every green T-box has these, even some fairways and other odd and end areas have these hookups. So we install those. We installed one on every green and just started on this side, pushed water that direction. And so what that does is gets rid of majority of the water. That being said, you still have swing joints, low areas, water finds a way to get around. And it's difficult when you just put these in to completely get all the water out. So I kind of traced over our main lines. I'm going to kind of show you the pattern in the path that we take in blowing this system out. So we have a system where our main line actually runs a full circuit around the property, which is great in season when you need water pressure. If it was just one line that had a dead end on it, you would lose pressure the further away from that pump house you got. But because this continuously goes around, you've got great pressure all around the property. In fact, our property has a main line that cuts through the middle of it. So we have even better pressure throughout the entire property, which is great to have. That being said, when you're trying to force water out through with air, say you might follow the main line this way. Well, what happens is it'll push the water back the other way. It'll just push it around in a circle. So what we have to do, once we try to get as much water out as possible, say today, then what we have to do is go and push water and air out through each individual sprinkler head. This right here is a list of every area, that kind of designated area on the course. So like 6 fairway, there's a lot of sprinkler heads on 6 fairway. But like that's where I start. Peyton, our assistant superintendent, he's going to start on 6 entrance. That's this area up here. So what I try to draw with these lines And with this here, it's just kind of a schedule. I'm going to start there. He's going to start there. We're going to systematically go through this golf course. This area highlighted in red, that's this middle section where we have a main coming through. So as we're pushing water around, water's going to want to squeeze into the middle, so we have to work together in tandem to keep water from trying to push back to where we already blew water out. So I do the north side of the course. So as I'm going along here, I'm just following the main line, blowing each section out. So blowing up 6 fairway, blowing out 5T, coming up to 6T, 5 fairway, come back, 4T, 4 fairway. And as I'm doing 4 fairway, Peyton, he follows the main line this way, blows out the main entrance, comes over here, blows out 7, goes to 8. Now there's a little pocket here where he's got to come back later. But the idea is, as you're pushing air, as we're in tandem pushing from one side to the other, following the main line both directions, we're both pushing air from each side against that wall of water. And the best way to say is you got a wall of water and a wall of air, you're pushing that as one unit, even though there's 2 of us. So he's going along here, going down 8. So once he blows this section of the road out, it's good. Imagine a wall of air and water there, wall of air and water there. That water's not going to want to necessarily push back because it's already been replaced by air, that pressurized air. And then he'll make his way up to the middle of the course. And by the time he gets towards this middle section, I'm meeting him. This is a tricky spot because I'm pushing air and water this way. He's pushing air and water this way. If I didn't come down this way and he was going this way, he's just going to start pushing that all back this way. So we work together, push out that middle section. And we just continue along, going through the golf course, all working together to push towards this side. And we usually finish out on 10 fairway. It's actually been timed perfect. Fifth year doing this out here. We've got it timed perfectly where we meet right about here, right in this high end, the highest end of the golf course. But keep pushing that out. And then once that's done, get all the water out. System's good for the rest of the winter. Once that's done, we'll go back, we'll winterize the pump house, everything's good. And one cool thing with our system, I am able to set a program that does exactly this in our system, in our irrigation system. So what I'm doing right now is I'm running like quick 2-minute cycles, so every sprinkler head pops on for 2 minutes, in the exact pattern that we're going to be doing tomorrow. And what that's doing is continuously just pushing the water to one side. Keep pushing it. Think of it like a squeegee, in a sense. You're just pushing all to one side as in one wall, evacuating as much water as you possibly can. So do a couple cycles of that tonight. So come tomorrow, when we go out in the field to do it, it's going to be a lot easier for us. There's not as much water there. It's going to be quicker for us to actually be out physically doing this. Well, we can do it in the program. I can do it through an app on my phone. I can turn these heads on, but we need to physically be out there and visually make sure that each sprinkler head has all the water blown out of it. We have to visually confirm that all that water is blown out as we go along. I'm not going to trust from sitting here in the office that the program itself is just blowing all that water out. It's also really dark now. It's 6:30 in the evening. I can't see anything out there. So we have to go out and physically make sure we did get all that water out. And then once we do that, we actually do go back to some of these middle areas. Because like I said, the system does make a full circle. There is a chance, for whatever reason, water could sneak its way back. So we actually come back to these areas, double check, make sure no water did get pushed back. Not necessarily a quick rundown, but this is a very important process we have to do at the end of the season to ensure that we keep our irrigation system intact. We don't want a hard freeze to damage this system. But usually, I would say a 3-day process, 1 day physically draining water, 2 days with the compressor. All in all, we should have it knocked out tomorrow, and the golf course will be ready for winter.